Before, my name is Scott Pryor. I'm the Associate Dean for Undergraduate Programs here in the College of Engineering. I've been a faculty member at NDSU since 2006. I've been the Associate Dean for going on 3 years now. My home department had been Agricultural and Biosystems Engineering. And now I get to work with a lot of recruitment, do orientation work, accreditation, work a lot with our undergraduate programs, really love what I do. And so we're really excited that you all are here. As I said, I know this isn't the way we would like to be doing this, but we're really fortunate to be able to have the technology to connect in this way. And so thank you for joining us. We're glad you're here. What we're going to do today, so the main event is going to be a panel so you can listen to and ask questions of our students. We've got 5 different student ambassadors that are here to tell you about their experience a little bit and mostly to answer your questions. Before we do that, I'm going to give probably around a 10-minute overview of the college, and there'll be some information probably particular for those of you that are going to be starting as freshmen this coming fall, because I know there are a bunch of you like that. And then there's some other things just for the others to think about. So we'll go through the college orientation, give a little bit of overview, then get right to that poll. As we're going through the talk, you should be able to ask questions through the chat function. So down at the bottom of your screen, you should see a little place that you can put a little comment. And you can do this while I'm talking, or you can do it later. But you can direct your comment to what's called NDSU admission, and there's going to be a person that's going to look at all of those questions. They'll be sending them to me so I can ask them of the different students that we have here. And then you can also continue to ask that as we go through. So with that, we'll just get started on this presentation. And let's see. So in the College of Engineering, we've got a lot of different options. And I know sometimes there's some misunderstandings about terminology within a university. So the university we have is North Dakota State University. Within that university, we've got different colleges. We're really proud that the College of Engineering is actually the largest college on campus. And we have 7 different departments and then 11 different majors within those departments, all in the College of Engineering. So lots of different options. And what you're seeing on the screen now are the College of Engineering and then the 7 different departments. Now, some of those departments, like these 3, Ag and Biosystems Engineering, Computer Science, and Mechanical Engineering, they have a single major associated with them. And then there are others, like those that are shown here, and they actually have 2 separate majors associated with them. And I want to highlight one in particular, and that's environmental engineering, and that's within the civil and environmental engineering department. Up until last year, the only undergraduate degree in that department was civil engineering. So for any seniors that are going to be freshmen at NDSU in the fall, when you filled out your application, you weren't able to specifically identify environmental engineering as your major, but you can now because that major is, it's official, and we are starting that in the fall. And you'll be getting something from orientation in the next few weeks. And one of the things that they'll be asking you is to confirm what your major is. So if anyone is interested in environmental engineering and they couldn't specify that previously, you're totally allowed to just say you want to not really change your major, but just say, oh, I had identified a different major, but I want to be environmental, and you'll have a chance to do that. But then these other majors also, the other departments also have several different, or at least a couple of different majors within. So construction management is a separate major from construction engineering. Electrical engineering is a separate major from computer engineering. And then again, industrial engineering and management is a separate major from manufacturing engineering. But each of those are a single department with 2 different majors. We also have a bunch of different minors, either within the college or minors that are kind of associated where a lot of our students take them. So biomedical engineering has been a really popular minor in the college for several years now. We're really excited about offering a new minor in robotics, and that's just starting this year. And if you take a minor in robotics, you get to take some specialized classes in mechanical engineering, computer science, electrical engineering. And then some other majors that are popular: computer science, often maybe an electrical or a computer engineering student might take a computer science minor. Manufacturing engineering minor is a popular one for mechanical engineering students. And then we always have a handful of students that do minors in either math or in business. But if you haven't decided what major you're interested in, if you know you like engineering, you like problem solving and design, but you haven't kind of figured out which one yet, that's completely fine. Very common, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you're a high school student, you definitely have time to do a little homework and figure out what you want to do. And then when you do apply to go to NDSU, you'll have to choose a major for the application. If you are going to be a freshman at NDSU in the fall, when you're going through orientation this summer, again, you're going to get a survey about that, what your major is. And if you've chosen a major, but you've decided, I maybe pick mechanical engineering or civil engineering, but I'm not really sure about it, one of the options within that survey is to identify that you are undecided engineering. And you get to work with a dedicated advisor. Guy, his name is Joel Handson. He's on this call. He's fantastic, great resource for all of our students. And he will work with you to make sure that you have a good set of courses for your first semester or first year that are going to be the most applicable to all of the engineering programs. And there really is a lot of commonality in all those programs, so it shouldn't be a big stretch to be able to get some courses that will help you decide. And related to courses that will help you decide, another nice option that we have for incoming students is a 1-credit seminar class that I teach. It's called Engineering 111, Introduction to Engineering. And basically each week you have someone from the different departments or different programs coming in and talking about the career options, the course options, what are the different specialty areas within those fields. The course is really designed primarily for people that are undecided in their engineering major, but I've definitely had plenty of students in that class that have already declared a major, and they were really happy that they took the class, just because it's good to know what else is out there. I'm sure when I went through the majors before, some of you probably saw some majors you had never heard of before, or maybe at least didn't know very much about. So there are certainly a few of our majors like industrial engineering, manufacturing engineering, agricultural and biosystems engineering that don't have the name recognition of electrical engineering or mechanical engineering. And so it's a good way to learn about some of the different other options that you've got. One of the things that we're really proud of in the College of Engineering is the relationship we have with our employers. So every year we have 2 different career fairs, one in September and then another in January or February, where we fill the floor of the Fargo Dome. We have well over 220, 230 different employers that come specifically to hire graduates from the College of Engineering. And this is for full-time jobs for those people that are graduating, and internships or co-ops for the students that are in the program right now. Internships and programs are not required, but they're strongly encouraged, and most of our students do end up doing some kind of industry internship or co-op experience before they graduate. And because they do that, we have some really excellent employment data. Really for all of our programs, generally it's between 85 to 100% of our graduates have full-time jobs in their field at graduation or soon afterwards. That's going to depend a little bit on the field. It's going to vary a little bit year to year, and it's actually going to vary quite a bit just based on whether or not we're able to get in touch with all of our graduates. But no matter what your field is, I think if you apply yourself, do some internships, the likelihood of you coming out with a really strong job is pretty high. Of course, we can't guarantee anything, but history shows that our graduates do well. Our employers continue to come back because they really love the preparation of our students. They love the work ethic of our students. And students get rewarded pretty well for that throughout all of the different fields. In terms of the types of companies that hire our graduates, really all over the map. So within this slide, you'll see a lot a lot of companies that you've heard of. John Deere and Bobcat are some of the big ones. People have people that go to work for Disney and they work for 3M. And then you'll see some things like Target and or FedEx. Now, actually, you don't always think that a company like Target or FedEx are going to have a lot of engineers working for them, but they certainly do. There's a lot of technology behind the scenes, logistics, and often, particularly people from our industrial engineering and management will go into with some of those companies, but really a wide variety of companies. The one other sort of company that I like to talk about is one that you wouldn't think of that's going to hire our graduates, and that's the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And if you visited campus before, you might have heard me say this before because it's probably one of my favorite stories about going to the career fair several years ago and walking around to talk to alumni and talk to some of the recruiters. And I saw there was a table there from the FBI, so I asked them, you know, you're the FBI, what are you doing here? This is the College of Engineering. And the guy looked at me and he said, we're looking for creative problem solvers and analytical thinkers. Those are engineers. So we'll gladly talk to anyone coming out of any of the programs in the College of Engineering because we're looking for critical thinkers, and that's who you're producing. And I think it really just speaks to the versatility of an engineering degree in general. And really the same goes for computer science and construction management. All of our fields, people are prepared with the technical skills to work for places like the FBI. So even though none of our programs prepare people specifically to work for the FBI, all of our programs prepare people generally to work for the FBI. And it's just an indicator of the versatility of your degree no matter what you want to do. So with that, we're going to start opening up the student panel. So as I said before, you can send all your questions in that chat feature, to NDSU Admission. There may be some questions that might be very specific or that we're just not going to be able to get to. And we'll do our best to answer as many questions as we can. But rest assured that even if there are some that we can't answer during the next 45 minutes or so, we will follow up with all of those. And just give me 1 second again, I will stop sharing my screen and we'll get you to introduce the panel. So, okay. So with that, we've got one person from admissions, and then we have several people, the students, ambassadors from the different programs. Doug, can maybe you introduce yourself first as the admissions representative?
Sure, yeah, my name is Doug Zeltinger. I work in the Office of Admission here at North Dakota State University. I've been on campus for 16 years, it'll be 16 years in July. Work with incoming freshmen and transfer students, and so if there are questions that the panel can't answer, maybe more admission related, I'd be happy to do that for you today. Originally from Coon Rapids, Minnesota. So with that, I will hand it over to Gabe and let him introduce himself.
All right, hello everyone. My name is Gabe Losbeck. I am a mechanical engineering student at NDSU. I just finished up my second year here this morning actually, so I'll be a junior this fall in the mechanical engineering program. And my hometown is Wyndmere, North Dakota. Am I passing it on to the next person, Dr. Pryor?
Yeah. Let's go to Kylie next.
Hello all. So my name is Kylie Arndt, and I just finished my junior year in electrical engineering, and I'm from West Fargo, North Dakota. Another cool fact is that I'm the student body vice president, so if you have any questions related to that, please let me know.
Great, thanks Kylie. And Marissa?
Hi you guys, my name's Marissa Furry. I just finished my senior year at NDSU. I have 1 semester left. I actually have a paper due at 3, so then I'm officially done with my 4th year. I'm from Plymouth, Minnesota, born and raised. I'm a senior in mechanical engineering.
Thanks for taking your time, Marissa, even though you got a paper due. Done. Caleb, do you want to go next?
Hi, I'm Caleb Winan from Moore, Minnesota. I am going to be a senior in agriculture and biosystems engineering.
Great, thanks Caleb. And Lindsay.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Lindsay Prestold. I'm from St. Louis Park, Minnesota, and I just finished up my sophomore year in the mechanical engineering department. So next year I'll be a junior. I'm really
Great. First question I'll ask a few of you is maybe why you chose specifically your major. Maybe Marissa, can you start with that? Maybe we'll see if Kylie and Caleb can help with that as well.
Yeah, I don't really have a fancy reason why I picked mechanical. Both my brothers ended up going into mechanical too. And so having older brothers do that, and I could see them, what they were working on their homework, what they were working on projects, and I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. And I really liked math a lot in high school, and I'm sure you guys hear that all the time, that engineers like math. But if you find an engineer that doesn't like math, that's probably not a good combo. But yeah, so I just ended up choosing mechanical, and I ended up really liking it and sticking with it. And then I found another reason, I guess, kind of why I picked it is I have a really strong creative background. I like to do a lot of artsy things, and I was trying to figure out how I could work that into my degree. And I found that through doing biomedical stuff. So I thought that was really unique about NDSU and offering that program.
Yeah, thanks, Marissa. I think often students forget about the creative component to engineering. Problem solving is certainly very important, very analytical, but there definitely is a very creative side with the design work that engineers do. And Kylie, you're in electrical engineering. You want to tell us how you ended up in that program?
Yeah, for sure. So I think the first step is deciding that I wanted to be an engineer. So as I grew up, I would always work on projects with my dad. He's very creative and does a lot of mechanic work, welding, things like that. So I really got to test out that part. So then I decided that not only wanting to build those things, I wanted to help create them. And then I narrowed in on electrical engineering because we used to build houses. So then I got to help set up the electrical systems, and I thought they were really cool. So.
Okay, great. And Caleb, so you're in one of the lesser known programs, agricultural and biosystems engineering, my home as well. Why don't you tell everybody how you ended up in that field?
Sure. So before I came to college, I bounced around between several different majors. I went back from civil, I went to mechanical. Ultimately, I ended up deciding agriculture engineering. I didn't necessarily grow up on a farm, but it still was agriculture was an interesting area of my life. So I grew up interested in agriculture as well as just tinkering with things such as Legos, or I always had a strong interest in math. So that kind of ultimately guided my decision to agriculture and biosystems engineering.
Great, thanks, Caleb. So that was how a few of you chose your major. What about choosing NDSU? What brought you to Fargo? Lindsay, do you want to start? Maybe tell why you decided to choose NDSU for your college career?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I'm glad you chose me for this question because I was the kind of person who did years of college search. I toured over 20 different colleges and applied to a billion different colleges. So I knew what I was looking for. And what I was looking for in a college was a really strong engineering program because I knew I wanted to go for engineering. I wanted something that was close to home, but not too close. So the perfect distance away where I could drive home on a weekend, but it's not like my parents are going to come visit me all the time. Also really good price, which is something I think a lot of people don't focus on, but it's a really big deal when it comes to college. And the size. I really liked NDSU because I didn't feel like another number. I really felt like a person. But it also had all the resources of a big school. It wasn't like small schools. I went to Bethel University for PSEO, and they have smaller programs, and it's just different. It's not as many resources. So I like more resources that they have here.
Thanks, Lindsay. That's I think you hit on a lot of the big ones. It was size, location, affordability, academic reputation. And it's nice the College of Engineering, of course, as the largest college at NDSU, there are a lot of great programs at NDSU, but I'd say overall one of the areas that we're known for is certainly engineering. So Gabe, what about you? What brought you to NDSU? You're a North Dakota native.
Yeah, absolutely. So being a North Dakota native, my top two choices when I was deciding on my college were NDSU and the school up to the north that NDSU students don't like to talk about a whole lot, up in Grand Forks. And actually it was my decision to major in engineering that led to me deciding on NDSU for a lot of the same reasons that Lindsay talked about, you know, the size, its reputation, especially in the College of Engineering, and the resources available for the students definitely resonated a lot with me. I also have a lot of personal connections to NDSU. My dad went to school here for engineering as well, and I have two sisters that have gone to school here, as well as a lot of other relatives and friends being from the area. So a part of NDSU has always felt like home to me, so I was able to continue that on when I came to school here as well.
Cool, thanks, Gabe. All right, now the questions have really been pouring in from students on the call, so that we're excited about that. First question I'm going to ask of the panel is a question about being undecided. And so if any of you were undecided at the beginning, like to kind of know what your story is, and if it's better to pick a major right away in order to pick your classes, or if you think it's a good idea to sort of declare as an undecided engineering major right away. Maybe Marissa, you probably have the most experience on campus. Do you have any perspective either from yourself or some friends on being undecided and pros and cons to picking a major right away?
Yeah, so I mean, I didn't really know what I was getting into as mechanical. I think I just threw that on there because like I had my brothers go through that program, and just because I didn't really know what else to do. And I mean, luckily for me, it worked out, but some people don't really know what they want to do, and that's totally okay. Because I know Dr. Pryor mentioned there's that 111 class that basically runs through all the different programs that are in engineering. So if there's like a better way to do it, that would be the class, is to see what each different area of engineering has to offer. And sometimes they'll bring in people that have a career in that department, and you get to see what they do. I guess if I had any advice for someone that's not sure what they want to do in terms of what department to go into, I would say choose that general one and just talk to everyone that you know that's in engineering, or I mean, all the resources that NDSU has, like talking to Dr. Pryor and talking to all the NDSU faculty, because they want to help you be able to decide that. I mean, it's not for them to decide. I mean, it's up to you, and we want to help you find what you're passionate about. And I mean, we want to help you find a job that you are excited to go do every day. And I think sometimes that's scary, like even as a senior, and I'm going to be graduating soon, that's sometimes scary to think about, that I'm going to be going into a job every single day of my life. But we want to help you find something that you love, so it doesn't feel like a job.
Yeah, thanks, Marissa. Yeah, and I'll add to that as well in terms of being undecided or not. I mean, I talk to incoming students about this quite a bit. And I think if someone's leaning pretty heavily one way, I think it's great to choose a major just to be able to start to build community and make connections with people that are like you, and you get to know a major a little bit better. And you can always kind of keep your foot in the door and keep your options open. If you really don't know, I think it's really probably better just to declare undecided. As I said previously, one of the greatest benefits is that you get to have Joel Handson as your advisor, and he's a fantastic person to work with, and will really help you work through all your different options and find the resources to help you make that decision. Next question that came in is about internships and co-ops, and about what internships you had, how you found that, if you're able to use that for credit or not. And I know that Caleb, you're the another one of the older ones. I'm pretty sure that you had 1 or 2 internships already. What's your take on that?
Yeah, so can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, so can you just talk a little bit about any internships that you
Sure.
had and how you got it and that experience, if you're able to get that, use that for credit or not?
Sure. Yeah, so I have had 1 internship so far, and I'm going to be starting, and I'll be going back to the same company here this June. But one of the things I did the first time around is that I took a class for credit, so I got some college credit for taking an internship at NDSU. Ultimately, they're really great resources. One of the best ways that I found that I learn is hands-on experience, so that those opportunities to go get those and have those internships, you'll learn more there than you ever did in school. And that's not saying that you won't learn anything in school. It's just saying that there's just so much more you can learn in those opportunities once given.
Great, thanks, Caleb. Kylie, I know this is you're getting into your senior year as well. I also know that you've been so involved in other campus activities. I don't recall if you've had an official internship yet or not. You have not yet. And
Yeah, so I have not had an internship yet, but I am having one this summer, and it's nice because it's going to be remote, so I don't have to worry about anything.
okay. And Marissa, what about you? I go to Gabe or Lindsay, but I know, again, since you're a senior, I'm certain that you've had probably multiple internships or co-ops to talk about.
Yeah, so I've had 3 internships so far. My first summer, I after my freshman year, I worked at Medtronic, and I ended up getting that through my cousin, actually. And she actually lives in Florida, so it was kind of a funny connection. But just, I mean, it's who you know. It's talking to people, getting to know what people do, and that's how that opportunity came up. And then the following 2 summers, I worked at a company called Smith's Medical. They're in Plymouth, Minnesota, which is where I'm from. And I got that one from the NDSU Career Fair. And to be honest, like, I was really nervous about going to the career fair because sometimes it's really hard to talk to strangers, especially when you're trying to sell yourself, basically. But I'm really glad I did because it ended up being not 1 summer, but 2 summers with them. And I got to learn about medical devices, and that was really, really fun for me. This summer, I'm working at a company called Surtech Medical, and another biomed company. And they make integrated circuits, and they do like unique welding processes. So that's what I get to do this summer. But yeah, I mean, basically just reaching out to people that you want to learn from helped me get my internships, and going to the career fair, definitely. I mean, like, even though it might be scary to go and talk to people about work and school and then things that you probably don't really want to talk about, but it's really helpful in the end, especially when you want to find a job.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Marissa. Looks like a few of the people on the call are interested to know a perspective about campus life and what it's like on campus, and maybe what type of student organizations you're involved in. Maybe Gabe, can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So first, I kind of want to talk about involvement within the College of Engineering, because there are a lot of super great extracurriculars within our college, as well as across campus. So clearly, we're all the 5 students in this group are part of the engineering ambassadors, who do a lot of work with outreach in the community, within the college, and with our students, to help them build like networking opportunities and help them get connected with all of the great things that happen in the College of Engineering, as well as in the engineering field as a whole. And there's also a lot of organizations within the college, like robotics, the American Society of Engineers. I'm personally a part of the American Society of Engineers and the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics. And those are both super great opportunities to connect with students that have similar interests, as well as chat a little bit with employers and people who are professional engineers and talk about the work that they do. So that's within the College of Engineering. I'm also involved with the Department of Residence Life's Hall Government opportunities. And I would super I would definitely recommend that for people who are incoming freshmen and are interested in leadership opportunities and interested in promoting a positive campus environment, because I know from my personal experience that organizations like that do a whole lot to make freshman year fun and exciting and engaging for all of the incoming students.
Great. Thanks, Gabe. Lindsay, can you talk to us about how you've been involved in campus activities and just what you feel like, how you can describe campus life at NDSU?
Yeah, I love campus life at NDSU. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons I love it so much, is because I got involved right away. So my freshman year, I became president of my dorm. I was in the engineering learning community. Highly recommend you go into that in Severnson. And me and Gabe were actually in that together, and he was the secretary of our hall government. And I'm also involved with the Society of Women Engineers. So that's like a group here on campus that's built around encouraging women in engineering and encouraging younger girls to get into STEM. And we have a lot of different events around that. So last year I was the vice president of corporate relations, and this year I'll be vice president of membership and the webmaster. So highly recommend joining SWE. That's probably my personal favorite organization, but I might be a little biased. And also I'm the president of the Society of Manufacturing Engineers, which I think is kind of neat because I'm not a manufacturing engineer. I'm a mechanical, but I'm interested in manufacturing. So that kind of like lets me like be in that group and be in that club, and it kind of shows that you don't have to be a certain major to be in a certain club either. Because like in that club, I mean, my vice president is an electrical engineer, so you can be any type of engineer and be in any of the clubs. And yeah, my biggest piece of advice to people is just get involved, because there's so much to get involved in, and anything that you're interested in, I promise we have a club for it on campus. And if not, it's super easy to start a club of your own. So you can just do that.
Great, thanks, Lindsay. There's a question about Capstone Engineering. And so for those of you in high school that don't really know, all the engineering programs, or actually all the programs on campus, there's a capstone where it's something you take at the end of your bachelor's degree, and it's either a course or a series of courses that's supposed to put all of the skills that you've learned as an engineer together. So there's and usually it's a hands-on project, often related to industry. But can you maybe give a little your take on how Capstone has worked? Marissa, you must be either in Capstone now or you've just finished. Can you talk about that Capstone experience in mechanical engineering?
Yeah, so what Capstone looks like for mechanical engineering, it's essentially a 2-semester course, if you will. The first semester is a lot of research and design, kind of understanding the problem and the project itself and what you're asked to do, doing things like creating a project plan, a timeline, selecting your designs and drawing those on some CAD software and creating a bill of materials for your selected design. So that's all what this first semester has been like. Second semester is essentially putting all that to action and building a prototype and testing your prototype and seeing what works, what doesn't, if you can improve it, if you can't. And then at the end of each of those semesters is you write a report and a presentation, and you tell people what you learned. So that's kind of what that looks like. My project that I'm working on, so you're in a group of 4, maybe 5, kind of depending on how many people you have in your class. So I have 4 people total in my group, and we're working with a company in Fargo that manufactures farming equipment, and our project is to come up with like a cost reduction plan for them, coming up with a different design that saves them money. But yeah, so.
Cool. Thanks, Marissa. I'm going to field the next question because I'm sure it's a question that's on everybody's mind. And what's the plan for the fall? And everyone's asking that, and it's totally reasonable. Right now, the leaders of the university, right now, we're saying we're committed to doing everything we can to be face-to-face in the fall. We know that our students value face-to-face instructions. It's what the professors want to do as well. It's a fluid situation, but we're doing everything that we can to make sure that happens. And it is a work in progress, so we can't give a lot of details on how that's going to happen, but we are working on doing everything we can to be face-to-face to provide that educational experience. That said, I think we're really committed to doing all we can to give a quality educational experience no matter what happens. But again, plan is certainly face-to-face in the fall. There's a question about what program is the most hands-on. I'm sure everyone would raise their hands because there's lots of opportunities for hands-on projects in the majors. But maybe rather than talking about which is the most hands-on major, just talk about how within your major you get to do hands-on activities in labs or elsewhere. Maybe Kylie, you want to start with that?
Yeah, for sure. So for electrical engineering, a lot of the hands-on happens in the lab. So building circuits, working with breadboards, things like that. And then outside of the classroom, you can join organizations and really work on those skills.
Thanks, Kylie. And Caleb, I know Ag and Biosystems Engineering is often known as being pretty practical. Can you talk about the lab components of that major?
Yeah, sure. So there's a lot of different things you can do with labs and whatnot. This last semester, I had 4 different labs. One was for like structural analysis. Another was for more electrical kind of based things like Carly was talking about. Another was, hey, here's a machine. How can we make it better or whatnot? Something similar to that matter kind of for a machine design class. A lot of classes have that, but like Kylie was saying, if you want, a lot of those classes will happen later on in your college career. But if you want to get like a jump start on something really hands-on right away, there's lots of clubs that allow you to do that right away.
Thanks, Caleb. And I think it's probably fair to say that in all of the programs, there are some lab classes every year of the program. They probably get a little bit more later on as you get further into the program, but you always have opportunities within classes to do hands-on work. And there's always plenty of opportunities to do hands-on work outside of the class. So question, is it common for freshmen to switch between different engineering majors? I know the answer to that, but Gabe, you know anyone that switched their major within engineering the first year or so?
Absolutely, yeah. I have a couple good friends that switched, whether that was within the College of Engineering or from the College of Engineering to another college completely, or from another college to the College of Engineering. So it definitely happens quite a bit. Just as people explore their interests a little more and figure out what's a good fit for them. And I know that the College of Engineering, as well as other offices and other departments on campus, have a whole lot of resources available to help students out that are questioning whether a major is a good fit for them. So whether that's Joel Handson, a faculty advisor, or the Career and Advising Center on campus, there's all sorts of people and all sorts of places you can go to get those questions answered and to help you make those kinds of decisions if it's a decision that you're thinking about making.
Great, thanks, Gabe. That actually fits pretty well with another question that came in about other sort of support there is on campus, about tutoring services, help with classes, or just general resources for topics in school that you might be struggling with. Lindsay, can you talk about what sort of resources there are for getting a little extra help?
Yeah, so my favorite resource is the ACE Tutoring Center. So they are in the basement of the West Dining Center, which is the dining center that's in between the 4 high-rises, which is really nice because if you live in the high-rises, then it's connected by tunnel and right underneath the dining center, so you can just like take a break and grab food. but they always have students in there like all day. They're really late, like until like 10 o'clock at night. And they can help with all sorts of classes. So I would always go in there for like my calc classes and my physics classes and my machine design classes. And they were always, they're usually students who have taken the class before and they've gotten a good grade in the class. So they really know the material and it's really fresh for them. So they're really good at like helping you through homework problems or like explaining stuff you don't understand in class. And they're just an amazing resource to have. I use them so much for my first 2 years. I basically lived down there. It was great. And they also have study groups, if that's your thing, that you can join. And they have a lot of really great like solo study spaces down there, which I think is good because the library is a little far from a lot of the freshman dorms. So if you're in like Weibel or one of the high rises, ACE is a really like good quiet spot that you can study. We also have, you have your professors who you can go to. I almost always I've talked to almost all of my professors, just like asking them about questions on my homework, or they're really good for explaining like what you did wrong on tests. I would highly recommend just like getting to know your professors because all of them are happy and willing to help. And usually it helps you a lot in the long run. Like you don't really think about it, but it's really good to know your professors.
Yeah, thanks, Lindsay. So you mentioned ACE, and then there are also plenty of other resources. There's the Writing Center and some other resources on campus to help people, but certainly ACE is a good option. And mentioning getting to know faculty is another good segue to the next question, which is how well do professors interact with students, and do you have a good relationship with them, and how do they help you? Lindsay, you answered that for, like, you're in the mechanical engineering program. Kylie, you're in electrical and computer engineering department. Can you talk about your relationship with professors there?
For sure. So like Lindsay said, they always have their doors open. So it's really easy to go talk to them. Even while we've been doing online school, I just like shoot my teacher an email and they'll do a Zoom conference with me. They're super open to allowing us to get help. Other things that we have like an in-house person that gets all of our supplies for any projects we need to do. So that's really helpful. And then all the people in the office are super supportive. So if you have any questions at all, you can talk to them and they'll help you with your classes, like organizing your classes, making sure that all your scheduling things work out. So I would say they were 100% helpful.
Great. And Caleb, what about you in terms of working with, you're in one of the smaller departments, and often you get to know the faculty a little bit better there. Can you talk about your interaction with faculty in or outside the department?
Sure. So the faculty in agriculture and biosystems are really dedicated to the students there. They have an open doors policy, as the other students were talking about, where if you want to go in and you have a question, they're more than willing to help all the time. My department's a little bit smaller, and so a lot of my classes are not super huge. My largest class this last semester was 19 people, with the smallest class being 6. So with that, they're always really interested about either what's going on with your life, or just they're just always caring for both your major as well as your personal life.
Great, thanks, Caleb. It looks like there are a bunch of questions that are coming in about double majors, which is pretty impressive. But I know we do have some students that double major. I don't believe that any of the people on our panel are. Anyone have experience, like friends that are doing double majors?
I don't know a lot about it, but I know we had a engineering ambassador this last fall graduate, and he was in, I believe, electrical and physics. His name was Patrick. So I know, so I know it can be done in a lot of classes. I think that he really enjoyed between the two overlapped. So he did get to kind of steer his interest into physics and into engineering. And some people, some people might think they're the same, but they're really not. So he got to learn a lot about it. I think depending on your credit count, you have to allow more time to double major. But yeah, so it can be done. So
yeah, there are a couple of programs that are specifically designed double majors. Mechanical engineering has a new double major with physics. I think it's electrical engineering has a double major with physics. I think there was a question specifically about computer science and management information systems. I'm not sure about that. I think in general, if you're coming in with a lot of credits, there are certainly a lot of courses that can count for 2 majors. So it's not like you have to 4 years for 1 major and 8 years for 2. There are ways to double count things. I'd say more often than not, if you're going to double major, it's going to take an extra year or so. But I think often with our engineering students, some come in with additional credits. It's not that difficult to finish within about 4 years and do a minor. And that could be a good option if you don't want to invest all of that extra time in that double major. There's a question about activities or labs in classrooms that stood out as just being like really interesting and fun. Like what's sort of a classroom lab type of class that stood out as kind of a highlight in the last year or so? Kylie, what about you? I know you've within electrical computer engineering, you get to do a lot of circuit work. Anything that stood out there?
Yeah, so one of my classes, electronics, we really get to have like free reign how we use components. So you just go into the lab and you like grab things and then put them together, and then you hook them up, and then you get to see something really cool done. I might just be nerdy, but I think that's really cool.
Yeah. And Gabe, you know, you've had a couple years under your belt. You have any highlights you'd like to share?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a class that mechanical engineers as well as a couple other majors take when they're freshmen, ME 212, and the highlight of that class is a term project where you and a group of about 5 other students get to redesign something in the CAD software Creo that they teach you to use throughout the class. So my group redesigned a model pickup, and other groups do things like snow blowers and chainsaws and all sorts of other cool things. And you're basically just showing off your CADing skills as you recreate the parts and as you create the drawings of the parts and assemblies. So it's a really cool way to really get into the nitty-gritty of that software, as well as build your teamwork skills and your ability to work together and as a group, which are super important skills for not only engineers to have, but just for people to have as they go about their lives.
Great, thanks, Gabe. Next question's about graduate school, and if we have graduate school at NDSU, and if there are benefits for students looking to go to graduate school. Maybe I'll field that one. All of our programs have master's programs and PhD programs. So graduate school is absolutely an option. Every year we get some of our students that go to graduate school either staying at NDSU or going elsewhere. So that's, yeah, it's somewhat common. I think a lot of our students go into industry because the jobs are plentiful and they get paid well, but we always love to see more of our students going to graduate school. And I think along with that, there's always opportunities for undergraduates to engage in research. And that can be a nice stepping stone to a graduate program, and maybe it help students decide if that's something that they really want to pursue. And I don't recall with the students on our panel if any of them have experience working in a research lab on campus. So I know, so it doesn't look like I have, but I know I work fairly closely with one of our other ambassadors who is going to be starting a graduate program at University of Texas, Austin. And she was in the civil engineering program. I know she did some research with the civil engineering program as well while she was there. And then actually there's another question about what that civil engineering program is like. kind of briefly, I'll say that there are 5 different kind of sub-disciplines within civil engineering. There's geotechnical engineering, which are foundations. There's structural engineering, which is like the kind of skeleton of a building. There's transportation engineering, which is bridges and highways and road systems. There's water resources engineering, which is a water supply. And then there's environmental engineering, which is often water quality. And so civil engineers work in kind of big picture problems related to civil infrastructure in cities. And they'll get a good background in all 5 of those different areas. And as I said before, environmental engineering is now also a separate major. So you can either work as an environmental engineer as a civil engineering major, or you can really focus and dive in to that as a specific major. Let's see. Go back to some of these other questions. What kind of engineering classes would you take if you haven't decided your major? Can you maybe talk about some of the common courses that you would take that first semester or first year? Lindsay and Gabe, you guys are probably the closest to that. I know that you're probably the younger 2 students here. Lindsay, do you want to talk about kind of common courses that you took with other engineering students that first semester?
Yeah, so that's one of the reasons I don't think it's that big of a deal if you're undecided freshman year, is because all engineering majors are basically taking the same core classes. I mean, you're going to have to take Calc 1 through 4, so you got to start somewhere with the math, and everyone's going to take those. You have your chemistries. Most people are going to take physics within their second year. And then you've just got like your gen ed classes that NDSU requires you to take. So everyone has to take like Com 110, English 120, and then there's like social sciences you have to get, and other basic requirements. And you can get a lot of those out of the way at the beginning too, before you've committed to a major. So that makes it really flexible. And if you can early on, like get those credits through like PSEO, those are classes I would recommend signing up for if you're still in high school. So if you can get like dual credit, that's really helpful, especially in like the math department, because as an engineer, you're going to be taking a lot of math. So the higher you can start in math, that's probably the best thing you can do for yourself starting off, is taking math in high school. Mm-hmm.
Great, thanks, Lindsay. Now, I know we are getting close to the end of our allotted time. One last question before we wrap up. Maybe if all of the students on the panel could just give one piece of advice that you would give, either for an incoming student or for someone that's in high school that's thinking about going into engineering, what piece of advice would you give? Let's start with Caleb.
Sure. So my main piece of advice is to get involved, whether that be within something, whether it be like something within the College of Engineering for like for a club, for like whether, yeah, like it would be something towards your major, club related, or whether that be something not club related. You know, you always can go to these club meetings and you can try it out and see what you like. And I encourage you to try things that you normally wouldn't try.
Thanks, Caleb. I totally agree. It's great to get involved and get into some clubs early on. Marissa, what piece of advice would you give to an incoming student or high school student?
Yeah, kind of piggybacking off of Caleb just for a minute. So if there's like a class or something fun that you want to do and that's not at all engineering related, I highly recommend it. Or if you're interested in studying abroad, I took a floral design class. It was like 2 credits. We met twice a week. Probably one of the funnest classes I've ever taken. And yeah, so I mean, and then for my advice, I would say I'm all about writing things down in my planner. I wasn't super into that in high school because I guess I just didn't have a lot of things to write down, and I guess people were kind of keeping up track of it for me. Like my teachers, you know, would remind me when I'm doing stuff, but they don't do that in college, so you really need to pay attention to when stuff's due. And so for me, writing it down in a planner, whether it's like a really cute planner or like like if you just want to jot it down on a piece of paper or put it on your fridge or I don't know, whatever you want to do, getting it written down always helps me make sure I get it in on time.
Sure. So have fun and stay organized. I think both terribly important for people in the College of Engineering for good mental health and just success academically. Kylie, what about you? What kind of advice do you have for students?
So I guess my advice would be don't be afraid to take a chance. When I came to college, I was terrified of everything. So, you know, if your friend asks you to go to the dining center, say yes. If somebody says, hey, I'm going to this new club meeting, do you want to come with? Just say yes. You don't have to join it. It'll be fun.
Thanks, Kylie. I never would have guessed that you were terrified of anything your freshman year. Gabe, what about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say my biggest piece of advice is to just embrace what life on campus has for you. So most every incoming freshman at NDSU ends up living in the dorms for their freshman year. So I would just say that to take advantage of the close proximity to your classrooms, close proximity to your teachers, as well as, you know, living alongside a couple dozen other freshmen on your floor, get to know them. Some of my best friends that I've ever had were the people who I either lived with or lived right down the hall from me my freshman year. So just take that time to take advantage of all of the really cool and really fun things that living on campus has to offer.
Thanks, Gabe. Jump in with both feet. And Lindsay, you get to back cleanup. What's your piece of advice?
Well, my piece of advice is go to the NDSU Career Fair because it's really amazing, all the companies that they have there, and they do a really good job at putting it on. And don't be afraid to go there your freshman year either. So I went there fall semester freshman year. I'd been in college like a month and a half, and I got all dressed up. I got my resume looked over by the Career Center and went in and walked out that day with 3 different interviews from Fortune 500 companies and ended up with an internship my freshman year at 3M. So it's not impossible. It's actually very possible. I know a few people who have gotten internships their freshman year. And that just completely changed everything for me because it's taught me the most about engineering, and it's also secured me for internships for the future, and potentially, I mean, a job after graduation, which is crazy considering only a sophomore, but those career fairs are amazing.
Yeah, that's great, Lindsay. It doesn't surprise me from what I know about you that you were able to get a few interviews and an internship straight away. It happens every year. So we've reached the end of our time, and I just want to thank everyone for joining us. Hope you got a lot out of it. I enjoyed getting to introduce you to some of our awesome students in the College of Engineering and talk about some of the opportunities that we have. That said, we're always happy to answer more of your questions. There were so many questions that came in throughout the time. I know we didn't get to everything. Those that we didn't get to in particular, we will reach out to you individually, but see the contact information on your screen for NDSU admission or for me in the College of Engineering. We're always happy to answer questions. So reach out via email, reach out via phone, and we can't wait to see you on campus. We know we'll see a lot of you in the fall, either for first year of your classes, and for the others, we hope that we can have you on campus fall or spring for a visit to show you in person what we have to offer. So thanks again for being here, and have an excellent end to your week and weekend.